Good morning. My name is Louise Gelbhart. I'm a member of the Board of Trustees, and I use the pronouns she and her. And it's my pleasure to welcome you here today to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Brunswick, Maine. We acknowledge that we gather as a community on the unceded lands of the Wabanaki Nations, which we now call Brunswick, Maine. It says here, I see that there are some empty seats in the front, but that's not true today. So after the children leave this morning, if you have an empty seat next to you that was vacated by a child, if you could move in, leave a seat on the edge, and then raise your hand that there's an empty seat on the end, then if there are people who would like to move forward or who are standing and can't find a place to sit, we'll have some seats for them. Today is Sunday, December 15th, and our pastor, Reverend Dr. Karma Amos, is leading the service. Our music is performed by... Where is it? Will and a bunch of other people. If you are new or visiting today and would like more information about our congregation, please stop at the visitors table in the fellowship hall. The folks there will be happy to answer any of your questions. In the interest of safety, please note that there are 2 exits from the sanctuary. One is located at the door you came in, and the other is directly behind you over in the corner. I guess that's not direct, it's in the corner, just past the AV booth. There's also an exit in the back of the building for the people who are in the lifelong spiritual formation area of the building. As we begin the service today, please silence your mobile devices. And I have 2 announcements. One is someone dropped their hearing aid batteries, and if they are yours, I'll put them in my pocket and see me after the service. And also, we are caroling this afternoon at 4 o'clock. A group of people from the choir and others in the congregation are gathering to carol in the neighborhood around Jordan Avenue. And if you would like to join us and haven't already RSVP'd to Will, shoot him an email at musicdirector@UUCB, and he'll give you the details and the directions for where we're meeting. And Tobin has an announcement.
Good morning. My name is Tobin, and my pronouns are he, they. And I have an announcement about a special event that's happening next week, next Sunday, December 22nd. Reverend Tara Humphreys from the Allen Avenue Church in Portland will be coming to lead a gender pronoun skill-up. So this will be an opportunity for folks to learn about non-binary and transgender pronouns and why it's important to learn about those things and to work with our community, our trans community, to help make sure that they feel welcomed. So we invite folks. There will be some light snacks, which is my bribe to get you to come. So I look forward to seeing each and every one of you there.
Thank you, Tobin, and again, welcome this morning. We're very glad you're here.
Good morning. My name is Betsy Roper. My pronouns are she, her. I'm on the membership committee, and I'm also in the choir, along with many others. We have a wonderful growing choir. This morning's reading is written by Jan Richardson. It's a poem called From How the Light Comes. I cannot tell you how the light comes. What I know is that it is more ancient than imagining, that it travels across an astounding expanse to reach us, that it loves searching out what is hidden, what is lost, what is forgotten or in peril or in pain, that it has a fondness for the body for finding its way toward flesh, for tracing the edges of form, for shining forth through the eye, the hand, the heart. I cannot tell you how the light comes, but that it does, that it will, that it works its way into the deepest dark that enfolds you, though it may seem long ages in coming or arrive in a shape you did not foresee. And so may we this day turn our lives toward it. May we lift our faces to let it find us. May we bend our bodies to follow the arc it makes. May we open and open more and open still to the blessed light that comes.
Good morning, beloveds. My name is Karma Amos. I use she, her pronouns, and it is my absolute delight to serve as the minister of this congregation. It is both a responsibility and a privilege of mine most weeks to remind you that whether this is your first time or you come here all the time, that whoever you are, whomever you love, whatever your background of religion, tradition, country, language, all that stuff, and no matter how much or how little you have in your bank account or your wallet, you are welcome here. We hope that you will find enough room in our community for your spirit. Speaking of room, this feels like a good time to acknowledge that our sanctuary is feeling full lately, and we are thrilled that so many are finding something of value in this community and in the spiritual practices of living and learning and loving our way to a better world. As a congregation, and the doorbell's ringing, how wonderful is that? As a congregation, we are discerning how we can best steward our congregational growth, and what a joy it is that this is the conversation we get to have. In the meantime, we have an opportunity to get cozy and creative with one another and to practice grace and kindness. We have the opportunity to continue creating the beloved community. So let us give thanks for the abundance of gifts we have been given, for the revelation that is each new person who comes through these doors we encounter. And let's be intentional about finding ways to really engage with one another so that the value of doing so far outweighs the annoyances that we may experience. Scratch will experience the annoyances we will experience, the extra time it takes, the ways we may have to adapt and put our theories about sharing into practice. But friends, I believe in us. I believe in us and the transformation that is possible in us and through us, and I thank you for being part of it. As we continue our reflections on this month's theme of presence, we're going to engage something pretty specific today, the specific challenge of Christian nationalism in our current United States context. Now, I don't want to talk about Christian nationalism, but it feels like it would be irresponsible not to. We happen to be in a season, Christmas, in case you're wondering, when Christian imagery and language is almost unavoidable no matter where you go. Another data point is that we're about to experience a change in administration, and the rhetoric of Christian nationalism surrounding that is already amping up. Today, I hope we might be able to take some of the gunk that has co-opted the faith of Jesus and recall again some of the character and value of Christian tradition that we might not want to throw out with the bathwater. Would you rise in body or spirit as we sing our opening hymn, the Advent classic, O Come, Emmanuel.
Hello, my name is Marcy Caswell, and my pronouns are she, her. In this season of Advent in the Christian tradition, it's intentionally drawn out. It's an extended season of waiting, longing, and preparing the way for us to encounter and experience holiness in the world, in the people around us, and in our own hearts. This year, our theme for the holiday season is presence. And not present for you kids, but presence. And as we light this third candle on the Advent wreath, Tobin asked us to share some ways in which we're trying to be more present in this season.
My name's Sam Caswell. I use they, them pronouns. One way that we try to stay present as a family is through music. You may or may not know, most of our family is very musical, and there are a variety of different ways in which we make music during the holiday season. The intergenerational orchestra, caroling, even if it's just my dad pulling out a guitar while we're like decorating the Christmas tree and we sing a little holiday carols. But in making music, music forces you to be in the moment and to be with the people that you are with. And so making music as a family and making music as a community during the holiday season really forces us to acknowledge the love around us, the community around us, and the people that we're making music with. And that's one way that we try to be present in this season.
Good morning. So you may have noticed that the rocking chair turned into a tree. And you may have noticed on the way in that there were some baskets for folks to put warm things in. So today is in fact our mitten tree service, where we are collecting items to share with others who may need them and not have them. So I could use some helpers to bring the mittens from where they are up to here and then put them on the tree. I like helpers who are under the age of 18. They could be 18 and under. So can I get some under 18 or 18 and awesome folks to come on up and help out? I see a Holden, I see a River. Come on up, friends. Sam Caswell, get up here. Hi, Fiona. Hello. Do we have any more folks who would like to come on up and put some mittens on the mitten tree? It's okay if you've never done that before or if it's your first time here. All right, awesome. And then I had some adult helpers. Can those adult helpers help us locate where the mittens are in the back? All right, so you're gonna head over to where Tamis is. Do you see Tamis? Tamis, wave. Tamis is gonna set you up with some baskets of mittens, and you're gonna help each other carry them up. Can you do that for me? And yeah, excellent. And then Will's gonna rock out on the piano while we work on this. As we're coming down with the baskets, if there's anyone who did not get to put their mittens in the basket, just raise your hand and we will do that for you. Take a look at your work, friends. What do you think? Yeah. Thank you all for your generosity of spirit and for sharing from your hearts. So we are now going to head off to our meeting spaces. And this is the time when I'd also like to invite, if you have an open seat that a child has left, they won't be returning. So feel free to slide in and raise your hand if you are next to an open seat. And will you all please join us in singing Our Children Out with We Will Keep a Place for You.
Good morning. My name is Sue Labes. I use the pronouns she, her. For me, it is an honor and a privilege to be a member of the pastoral care team. And as a member of the team, I'm going to read the joys and concerns from the book. From Stephanie Bernier, Ben Bernier underwent a successful heart repair surgery. On Friday, he is still in ICU at the Maine Medical Center. He and I are very grateful for your good thoughts, prayers, and good vibes. That's Ben Bernier. Ren, I'm sorry. I don't have my glasses on, so I'm sorry. Ren Bernier. This is mostly a joy with a little concern mixed in. My daughter, Thea Forrest, will be leaving for Thailand for a semester abroad on December 26th. Great excitement and a little worry, too. That's from Elizabeth Forrest. Gus Manamanis and his family are mourning the sudden death of Paul, his younger brother, who lived in Florida. Paul was a jokester and chief optimist of the family. One of his special talents was conversing in a Donald Duck voice, which delighted both kids and adults, and we will all miss him so much. And Elizabeth Forrest also says, I am concerned in getting she was getting a promise from somebody to make an apple tart. And she is not aware of who that is and would like to know who she promised an apple tart. So that is a very heavy concern. She would. So see Elizabeth after the service, and you tell her that you want her apple tart. Okay. So if you have a joy or a concern you want to share and you can't be here, you can submit it online. Or if you want to talk to somebody in person, we have light blue ribbons on our name tags, and we'd be glad to listen to you. Just look for us after the service. Thank you.
That's close enough for folk music. Yes. Get over. Come this way. So why don't you step forward since you're singing first? There we go. 1, 2, 3.
The lights on in the middle of the night. There's a sick little child around. Mama says, Papa, don't you worry. Think the fever's coming down. Oh, yes, and
just a flu, but I'll say a little prayer, say a little prayer for you. Say a little prayer, say a little prayer for you. Let her get better soon, please.
Put Aretha Franklin on. Turn it up, turn it up, turn it up, turn it up in the middle of the night, 'cause that'll do as much good as any medicine to make her feel alright.
Oh, yes, and I know it's just a cold or just a flu, but I'll say a little prayer for you. Say a little prayer for you. Let her get better soon, please do. Mama been walking with you. Papa been walking with you. Walking up and down the hallway. Look out the window. See the city lights shining. When you're sick, you look so tiny. I'm gonna put you in my pocket. Go down to where it's warmer. I'm gonna throw you in the ocean, and you will turn into a dolphin. And when you get all better, swim back to me. Oh, yes, and I know it's just a cold or just a flu, but I'll say a little prayer for you. Say a little prayer for you. Let her get better soon, please do. Let her get better, let her sister get better too. Let him get better so I can get better too. Ooh, say a little prayer, say a little prayer. Say a little prayer, say a little prayer.
Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in the one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit draw near. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit draw near.
Gathered here in the struggle and the power, Spirit draw near.
Good morning. I'm Diane Fisher, and my pronouns are she, her. The reading today is from Sarah Miles in Take This Bread, and I really love it. This is my belief, that at the heart of Christianity
is a power that continues to speak and transform us. As I found, to my surprise and alarm, it could speak even to me. Not the sappy Jesus and cookies tone of mild-mannered liberal Christianity, or the blustering, blaming hellfire of the religious right. What I heard and continue to hear is a voice that can crack religious and political convictions open. Least likely, that advocates for the least qualified, the least official, the least likely, that upsets the established order and makes a joke of certainty. It proclaims against reason that the hungry should be fed, that those cast down will be raised up, and that all things, including my own failures, are being made new. It offers food without exception to the worthy and unworthy, the screwed up and pious, and then commands everyone do the same. It doesn't promise to solve or erase suffering, but to transform it, pledging that by loving one another, even through the pain, we will find more life. And it insists that by opening ourselves up to others, to strangers, the despised or frightening or unintelligible other, we will see more and more of the holy, since without exception, all people are one body, God's.
If we wanted to discover and experience the presence of the holy, the sacred, God, the Great Spirit, the mystery, by whatever name and in whatever way you imagine that, where might we look? Where would we be most likely to find that elusive experience of transcendence that sometimes captures our hearts and makes life sparkle with meaning right in the midst of the mundane? Where and in whom or what is sacredness present? Those are the questions that I began my own reflections with, and so I'll start there. And on this point, I'm not sure how the Christian tradition or the Jewish faith of Jesus, for that matter, could be any clearer. To state this in the language of liberation theology, if there is a God, they have a preferential option for the poor, the outcast, the rejected, the homeless, the ill, the scorned, the downtrodden, the last and the least. This is a persistent witness of the Bible if one reads it. And here I'll paraphrase a quotation I heard in seminary that's been misattributed to the 20th century preacher Harry Emerson Fosdick. Too many people use the Bible, I'm paraphrasing, too many people use the Bible like someone heavily under the influence uses a lamppost for support, but rarely for illumination. Now, most of you know that I continue to maintain clergy credentials in the Metropolitan Community Churches, a progressive Christian and predominantly queer denomination, in addition to the Unitarian Universalist Association. While I like to think that I am spiritually multilingual now, my first language of faith was Christianity. It was in the Bible that I found inspiration, among other things. Coming out as a lesbian at a time when the dominant message was that Christianity was incompatible with being queer, I might have abandoned that tradition altogether. Many of my family and friends did, and are, and have. Many of the people who have discovered our faith tradition from other places, Unitarian Universalism, have also found problems with Christianity and abandoned it, though some of us are still both and people trying to hold on to the best of the valuable bits of it. And let me be honest in saying that I do experience more ambivalence and skepticism about Christianity in Unitarian Universalism than I do of other faiths, and I get it. I really do. I get it. Many people have been harmed by ostensibly Christian institutions and people. In fact, today, some of the loudest voices claiming to be Christian have departed so drastically from anything resembling the life and the teachings of Jesus that it's off-putting, even to people who genuinely love Jesus and want to follow the compassionate example that he set. Christian nationalism, as it is showing up in our nation today, may be among the most egregious examples. My New Testament professor, Dr. Greg Carey, whom I love, let me just say that. He preached at my ordination service and has been one of my favorite conversation partners for 20 years. He's one of the leading scholars leading the charge of resistance to Christian nationalism and a very sought-after speaker these days. Greg defines Christian nationalism quite simply as a political movement, that's important, a political movement that takes as its foundation the mistruth that the United States was created as a Christian nation and that God holds the U.S. in special regard. From that place, Christian nationalists argue that Americans have special virtues, and that if we will only elect officials that will enact Christian principles, we will prosper over all other nations and people as God intended. That's the way the thinking goes. Dr. Carey notes that Christian nationalism focuses a whole lot of attention on things like prayer in schools, symbols of national piety blurred with patriotism, military imagery, reinforcing traditional social norms, but strangely enough, does not focus a lot of attention on the life and teachings of Jesus. As Greg says, and here I quote, Christian nationalism is about social privilege for certain types of white Christians, about a particular ordering of society, rather than being about loving one's neighbor. We could rightly say that Jesus is very inconvenient for Christian nationalists. Now, why do we even need to talk about this? We're a mixed group, theologically and spiritually. We have among us those who are atheist, agnostic, humanist, as well as those who remain rooted in another faith tradition and find life in Unitarian Universalism. So why do we need to talk about it? Well, for me, it sure looks like naked emperors are about to cart off with the heart of a faith tradition that still has value alongside others, still has things to teach us about a different and more loving way of being human. And I'm simply not content to sit and watch that happen when it so grossly misrepresents everything Jesus himself was all about. Not to put too fine a point on it, but Christian nationalism isn't very Christian. We could compare and contrast what we know about the historical Jesus with the agenda of Christian nationalism on so many topics and at length. Rest easy, though, friends. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to keep it simple and confine it to the question of where we might encounter the presence of the holy. Because there are huge differences in the answers proposed by Jesus versus Christian nationalists that matter even to us. In this season when Christmas is ubiquitous, it might be exactly the right time to remember that the heart of the Christmas message is about the presence of love with us. And the whole story tells us that the places of power in this world, the kingdoms, the armies, the empires, that's not where the sacred action is at. It's like the whole Christmas story is screaming, not there. Definitely not there among the powerful and the put together, right? Do not look there for the hope and the transformation that we long for. The Christmas storytellers used every method at their disposal to show us that the action, the sacred action of the story, and the action of the Christian narrative more broadly, is a thoroughly countercultural one. Do you want to find the sacred? You go to the ones without power who have been turned away from every place they looked for help. Do you want to discover the holy? You hang out in places that smell like manure and animals and exhausted human bodies and earth and birth. You want a journey with the divine? You travel with broken-hearted people who have been through some stuff and discovered that, if anything, God is a verb. That's the way the poet Buckminster Fuller, the grandson of a Unitarian minister, put it. God is a verb. And if you want to find God, look for the sacred action of love. Because the holy is more present in the act of our loving than our talking about the concept of love, as I'm doing right now. The holy is more accessible to us when we are imperfectly trying to love hurting, annoying people and not giving up when it gets hard. One of the supreme heights of irony occurring right now is that in the season of Advent, as Christians around the world are waiting and preparing and reflecting on the story of the historical Jesus, his refugee status, his birth in a manger, his life in a family of choice with marginalized people, ultimately his death at the hands of empire, but I'm not going to get on a roll. The irony is that while we are celebrating the arrival of a tiny brown Middle Eastern baby, Christian nationalists are demonizing immigrants in the United States and heralding the politicians who are promising their deportation as saviors. That is not Christianity. And it is a perversion of the spirituality of Jesus. I'm not content to cede the contest and give up and say, oh gosh, they ruined that. Because there is something of value in the teachings of Jesus and the way that they align with all of the great religions. In fact, our own UU ancestors were born from just a struggle like this, as our ancestors of faith tried to discern the baby from the bathwater and save the baby. Is there any more Christmas appropriate behavior than that? John Rodell, one of my current muses, has a poem in his brand new book called Wonder Ache that I want to share with you in hopes, it's from his perspective, but I want to share it with you in the hopes that it might inspire your own reflections in the remainder of this season about where you find meaning and truth and something sacred. John writes, I'm a conditional atheist. God does not exist for me on the tip of a sharpened sword or on the lips of a sermonizing hate evangelist who is foaming at the mouth, or in the licking flames of a torch held by a marching bigot, or in any dogma that have been soaked in the ancient poison of guilt and self-shame. The divine doesn't exist for me anywhere wounds are being made in its name. I don't know about how any of this works, but I've never found much of God in the towering hierarchy of unchecked power. The great mystery isn't a cracking whip or a flag or an internet manifesto, or a pointed finger, or a political party, or a dividing line, or a box of ammo, or a Corvette driven by a TV preacher, or a specific gender or book bonfire. Creation is more of a florist than she is a fundamentalist. The weaver of life is more interested in stitching us together into a quilt than how to separate us into metal bins. To come into relationship with unending love shouldn't require us to loathe ourselves. It should be the exact opposite. To know ourselves is to know God. To love ourselves is to love God. My love, I believe that the divine is just about everywhere, except in the slow poison sands of fear and control where so many have built temples for us to worship inside. In those places, I am an atheist. But everywhere else, there is so much fertile soil where we can let the sunflowers of empathy grow wildly in the spaces between us. And I've heard that if we remain still and listen so very closely, these evangelizing sunflowers will whisper to each of us a secret we once knew while we were cooking in the cosmic womb. We are all loved equally. May we have hearts open to receive this message again in this season, wherever we find it and however it comes to us.
Good morning. My name is Stephen Majersic. I'm a member of the worship committee. I use the pronouns he, him. Now is the time in our service when we receive your offerings to support our church. All cash, non-pledge offerings will be shared with this month's Charity with Soul. This month's charity is the Immigrant Legal Advocacy Project. Please give as generously as you are able.
please join me in the congregational response. May these offerings sustain and grow the work of this church, weaving a tapestry of love and action. Thank you.
I want to invite you in just a moment to rise as you're able in body or spirit to sing our closing hymn. But I want to cue you in on something special for this song. If you haven't sung it before, it's not a typo. You'll see a screen that only says ooh. On the third verse, we ooh together, okay? Would you rise as you are able? Let us sing. Would you receive this blessing from Jan Richardson? Blessed are you who bear the light in unbearable times, who testify to its endurance amid the unendurable, who bear witness to its persistence when everything seems in shadow and grief. Blessed are you in whom the light lives, in whom the brightness blazes, your heart a chapel, an altar where the deepest night can be seen, the fire that shines forth in you in unaccountable faith, in stubborn hope, in love that illumines every broken thing it finds. Would you rise as you are able now, and we'll sing our closing blessing to one another. Please greet your neighbors.